Why do we label Paul Pogba as the streets never forget player? Why do we categorize Paul Pogba as a failed wonder kid? Why is it that he's someone who underachieved in his career? Why is it that we label Paul Pogba as someone who failed to live up to his potential? Why is Paul Pogba's reputation down in the mud? Honestly, it pisses me off. We, SDS, we made the list in the last 20 years, the top 10 French players, and Paul Pogba never made the list. I really don't understand this myth about Paul Pogba that he's going to retire as someone that failed or a streets never forget player. Bro, they are trying to put him in the same bracket as the likes of Terapt, the likes of Ben Arfa, Anelka. Who else? Quesma. Who else? Rubinho. Who else? Adriano. Are we serious here? The way people talk about Pogba, you can tell they know nothing about Pogba. You can tell that they don't understand what Pogba's done in his career, or what he's achieved in his career, or how he's influenced the game in his career. But let me tell you right now, let me teach you. Let me educate you about Paul Pogba. Let me tell you what Paul Pogba has really, really done in his career. Pogba won the Golden Boy in 2013 after his breakthrough season with Juve. The following year, he won the Serie A MVP, which basically means he was the best player in the league. After a historic season that won Juve the league, the cup, and he took them to the Champions League final, he was selected amongst FIFA's best 11, which basically is the best players, the best 11 players in FIFA. The world 11 of FIFA, which includes the likes of Messi, Ronaldo, Ramos, Modric, Alves, Marcelo, so on and so forth. He was amongst that best 11. I'm sure the likes of Terapt was also selected amongst that 11 in one day of his career. Or Ben Arfa. That's what we're doing to Paul Pogba. We're making it, we're putting him into a bracket of those players, but we're failing to understand what he's actually done and achieved in his career, bro. Paul Pogba has won 4 Serie A's. Paul Pogba was crucial in all 4 of them. Paul Pogba was amongst the team of the season, Serie A team of the season, in 3 of them. He wasn't a role player. He wasn't a scrub. He wasn't the player that comes in the last 10 minutes and just performs out of nowhere. Nah. He was amongst the team of the season, bro. He was amongst Juve's best players in all of those campaigns. That's Paul Pogba. That's who Paul Pogba is. And even the World Cup in 2014, that also goes under the radar of Paul Pogba's time. You guys do know he was one of the brightest spots of France in that campaign, which never went part of the plans for the Les Blues. It was a disappointment. But one of the brightest spots of that campaign was who? Paul Pogba. Why is it that all of Paul Pogba's time and achievement and the impact and what he's done before his time at United just gets brushed away? We pretend like it never happened. We pretend like it was never a thing. We pretend like Paul Pogba's career started the moment he joined United in the 2016 season. That's who we think Paul Pogba is. But everything they did before that, all their achievements, everything that I've just said to you, we never mention it about Paul Pogba. Never. His time at United always gets described as someone who failed, or someone who failed to live up to the potential, or someone that never helped United achieve what they wanted to achieve. Honestly, in my personal opinion, and if I'm being 100% truthful, and I'm not lying one bit, despite being wasted, okay? Despite being played out of position, despite having the wrong pieces around him, and the wrong system around him, and the wrong everything about him, his time at United, in my personal opinion, is a 50% success. That's the truth. You sign a player who thrived, who showcased what he can do to the world, playing advanced in a role that allowed him to express himself, that allowed to get him closer to the final third, closer to the box. You sign that player and basically tell him, yo, Pogba, nah, bro, we don't want that here. Go play next to Fellaini. Go play next to Herrera in a double pivot. That's the Paul Pogba you signed, yeah? And even with all of that, he won United an iconic treble in his first season. He was selected as the best player in the Europa League, carried an average United side to success whilst also scoring the final. You would think, after all of that in his first season, you would think that Jose would have said to himself and would have actually sat down and did his scouting report and said, you know what? All right, cool. Maybe this first season we had to pull Pogba there. You know what? Now let's play him where he wants to play. Now, you know what? Let's find the right pieces alongside him. That's what you think Jose would have done. Now, what did he do in his second season? He signs Matic, an agent Matic. It's not the Chelsea Matic that we all know and the success that he was and the reliable Matic that he was on the Jose in his second spell at Chelsea. No. It was an agent. It was a player past his prime Matic. A guy who wasn't energetic, bro. A guy who committed bad error after bad error. That's the Pogba they put him next to. Come on, man. United finished second that season. And as Jose famously said, that was my biggest achievement in my career. Everything that Jose has achieved in his career, finishing second with United, apparently to him was his biggest success. And honestly, if you look at it, I'm not even surprised one bit about it. And then Ole comes in, and here's me thinking, oh shit, Pogba is finally going to be playing where he wants to play. I'm sure Ole's going to find the right formula next to it. Nah, what did Ole do? 3-man midfield of Paul Pogba, Scott McTominay, and every now and then he's either Fred or Andres Pereira. Yes. But even with all the adversity and everything about United during that season, Paul Pogba finished amongst the best 11 in the Premier League that was selected as the PFA's best 11. I'm sure you never knew about that as well, yeah? I think it's easy to make fun of Pogba's time at United. I think it's easy to pinpoint all the blame on Pogba without looking at the context and the reasons behind it. Pogba was the player that United needed, but at the wrong time. Pogba was the player that Premier League needed, but at the wrong club. At the complete wrong club. Two managers failed to build a system around Paul Pogba. They failed to identify how they can unlock Paul Pogba and get the best out of Pogba. There was no scouting report done. There wasn't a clear strategy on how we can get the best of Paul Pogba. You could clearly see what he did at Juventus. His 4 years at Juve. You could clearly see how Conte and Allegri had him playing. You could clearly see it, but you never actually took it into place and say, you know what, let me replicate that at United. You could clearly see what Paul Pogba did at the World Cup of 2018. And oh my goodness gracious, that campaign. Woo! That campaign, bro. That campaign of Paul Pogba in 2018. Hey, no words can describe how good they was. Throughout the whole tournament, every single game, we witnessed a serious Paul Pogba with the right mindset of a Paul Pogba. Every single game, from the first group stage of the first game against Australia to the last game against Croatia, we saw a consistent Paul Pogba. We saw Paul Pogba that, in his mind, he went on that pitch and said to himself, I'm the best player in the damn pitch. Every single game, we saw a Paul Pogba. We saw the real Paul Pogba. The Pogba that United failed to identify. The 2 games against Argentina, the 2 games against Croatia, he was so good on the defensive end, and even going forward as well. He was chipping in with those long passes, with those diagonal passes. The game against Croatia, the pass over the top to Mbappe that led to the penalty. Every single game that Paul Pogba played in that tournament never came up with a stat sheet. But anyone with eyes who watched Paul Pogba, who watched France in that campaign, will tell you he was France's most important player in that campaign. The most important player in that campaign. France would have never achieved and what they would have done without Paul Pogba in that 11. Honestly. And in the end, the final against Croatia and the cherry on top, the goal, that's Paul Pogba, bro. His time at United will go down as a failure, and that's what a casual would say. In my personal opinion, if I put my bias aside and my love towards Paul Pogba aside, as you guys can see throughout the whole video, I would say it's a 50-50. To be fair, it's a bit more than 50-50. I would say it's about 60 to 70% blame goes to United, most important to United, for failing to understand Paul Pogba, for failing to put Paul Pogba in the right system, for failing to have the right ingredients around Paul Pogba and the right players that complements Paul Pogba. They failed that. They failed it completely. And I would say another 20-30% goes to Paul Pogba for no showcasing it on a consistent basis. We saw glimpses of it, we saw stretches of it, but it wasn't on a 38-game season. And I don't blame him in some way. I would lose hope as well if I'm being put around bums and I have to be the one that had to showcase what I can do. I don't blame him as well. Like I said, his time at United should never, ever, ever be looked at as a downside to Paul Pogba's career. And I don't think we should judge or determine Paul Pogba's career from only his time at United. And honestly, if you do that, I don't think you should be a fan of this sport. Honestly. Like, another tournament that we don't talk about is his time in the Euros. The Euros of 2021. What he did in that tournament. Throughout the whole campaign, he was on verge. I'll be completely honest. He was on verge to be the best player in the Euros. The best player in the Euros, hands down, bro. Every single game, he was playing better and better and better. Him and Benzema was tag teaming. It was like the Hardy Boys carrying France. And the game against Switzerland, where he scored that third goal, and France was winning 3-1, and Deschamps, he decided to take his best players out, and Switzerland came back in 3-3. But even during all of that period, all the passes he made to Mbappe, every single pass he made to Mbappe missed about 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 to 11 to 12 chances, bro. Easy chances. He could have easily finished that game off even before the extra time. But Mbappe, even during the extra time, he failed as well. And he missed the penalty as well. So you tell me who failed France? Is it Paul Pogba? That everyone thinks he's the man? Or is it Mbappe? Kylian? But honestly, even if we forget everything to do with United and France and Juve and everything else, what Paul Pogba delivered on that pitch was something that I don't think we will ever see in his build and his size and everything about him. Paul Pogba is a generational player. Paul Pogba is unique. Paul Pogba is one of a kind. Honestly, we will never see someone at that height and that build have the ability on the floor and on the feet and the technique about it and the finesse about it. We will never see that again, bro. Paul Pogba was the closest thing to Zidane. Paul Pogba, when we talk about just ability, just pure ability, just natural ability, Paul Pogba is one of the best midfielders we will ever see. And that's not me being edgy. That's not me being a hot take. If you saw what Paul Pogba did, the best version of Paul Pogba, prime Paul Pogba, peak Paul Pogba, that's not a lot of midfielders. There's not a lot of players that's better than him, bro. Technically, he is one of a kind, bro. He's one of the best players we'll ever see. Natural ability, he is unplayable, bro. That's the Paul Pogba that we're talking about. I'm not talking about Tarab or Ben Arfa. Yes, they are. Naturally, they are the best. But what Pogba's done, having the ability and achieved what he's done with Juve, with France and everything else, brother, he's not a streets never forget player. How can you be a streets never forget player if you are one of the best players in the tournament, if you are the most player in the tournament, if you won the World Cup and you're one of the main players there, if you are amongst the best FIFA 11 of the year, if you won Juve the best trophies and this and that? How? It doesn't make sense. And the myth about Pogba being that is completely false. Don't believe the narrative or the stupid casual take that people love to throw. It's so stupid. Honestly. And I'm here to defend it. What I've seen from Paul Pogba in his last 10 years, 12 years of playing football, I have seen someone who has changed the game and who was amongst the best players we will ever see during his best time. And I can't say the same about other players. When we look at Paul Pogba 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, it's not going to be, oh, he's a streets never forget player, or he lived to fail up to his potential, or he's a fail one of the kids. No. We will look at Paul Pogba 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, as someone who, during his best years and during his best time, he was chilling amongst the best players we've ever seen. The likes of Zidane, and Iniesta, and Xavi, and Luka Modric, and Toni Kroos, Paul Pogba is within that table of the best midfielders we will ever see 20 years from now, 30 years from now. That's the real image of Paul Pogba. But guys, before I end the video, as you guys know, I appreciate everyone for watching. I appreciate everyone that's been showing love over the past couple of weeks. Like I said, bro, I'm being more consistent. I'm back now, and the consistency is back. All the reviews that I've done, all the videos that I've done, I appreciate all the love for watching. Don't forget, as you guys know, like the video, guys. Share the video. If you guys know another Paul Pogba fan, if you guys love Paul Pogba, if your mum is a Pogba fan, if your dad, if your sister, if your missus love Paul Pogba, Send to them, man. Or if you've got haters, if you know someone hates Paul Pogba, send this video to them and it will change their mind. Trust me. And don't forget as well, subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Peace!